Hi and good evening. So today what I'm going to do is go over your lab kits. So when you take them home, everything's going to come in this box. It's going to be your hormone, saliva test, and then your gut health, your stool test. Inside of there, you're going to find a paper, and basically on this paper, it's going to have where we're going to fill out all this information in this box for you. This side, you're going to make sure it has all your correct information on it. And then we'll mark all the appropriate testing that needs to be done in this section. The bottom section will sign, everything gets billed for me, so you guys get my prices on lab testing. And at the bottom now, if you're from New York, you need to answer these two questions. The first one is, are you a resident of New York State? That's probably not going to happen too often. And then, was the specimen collected in New York? So that's never going to happen. So we want to make sure that we have no's on there. So if my office didn't do that, make sure that that's double and triple checked if you would. Now, as you flip it over, on the back side of it, it's going to have this side that talks about the saliva test and then the fecal test. On the saliva test, it's going to walk you through exactly how to do everything. If there's any confusion, make sure you give us a call and ask us. We want this to be as simple as possible. It's going to ask you the date that you collected it here. And then it's going to tell you, morning fasting. So you haven't eaten throughout the night. So the first thing you get up, you're going to spit in the first vial. And I'll show you the vials here in a second. Then the next one, it says noon. And you're going to collect that between 11 and 1 o'clock. And then when you collect that, you also want to fill out when your last snack was. We want to know what time it was that you ate. And then your afternoon one says between 4 and 5, and then the same thing, what kind of snack you have had. And then the last one it says midnight, and it's between 10 and 12, and again, when was your last snack? So it walks you through it really easy. If you have any kind of gingivitis or bleeding gums, make sure you mark that. And then if you're not on a regular sleep cycle or something. So that's why I always tell everybody, you want to start this on Friday for the weekend. The saliva test needs to be done all on the same day. So you can do that on Saturday or you can do that on Sunday. Then we can drop everything in the mail on Monday. So let's go over the vials. The first vial, it's going to say morning on it. And you're going to make sure you put your name on there and the date of birth. And so when you get up, you're just going to spit in it. And that's going to be on fasting because you haven't eaten for 6 to 8 hours through the night. Then what I'm going to want you to do, especially if we're looking at your insulin and how it's working, I want you to eat 75 grams of carbohydrates between the next collection, and that says noon on it. And again, as it says on the paper, you can collect that between 11 and 1, whatever works for you. The next one is going to say afternoon, okay? And you want to collect that between 4 and 5 o'clock if possible. If it's a little late, then that's okay. Now, between the noon and the afternoon, these two guys, you're going to pour about half out of each one of these into the tube that says F and L. So it's going to take part of the collection from the afternoon, and it's going to take part of the collection from the noon to make this up. Now, I will warn you that the saliva will, when it starts to pour out, it comes on out. So just be careful with that. Don't pour back in because there's some chemicals in here we don't want to mix and get back in those vials. So if you pour too much in there, leave it there and then go ahead and put as much as you can of the other sample. Now the last sample, it says midnight. And again, as I went over with you, as the paper says, it says collect that between 10 and 12. Okay, so that's pretty easy on the saliva. You're going to put it back in the bag that it came from, keep it in that, and you want to keep everything refrigerated. Don't let it get warm or hot or anything like that. Now, on the stool collection, you've got 3 vials. You have vial A, vial B, and another vial B. So the stool collection, you want to do that on Friday. Start with the stool collection on Friday. What you're going to do is you're going to take and put saran wrap across the toilet or get a plastic container that you can collect it in, and then there's a spoon that's attached to the lid. Now up underneath here is a line, and you want to put as much to bring the fluid up to that line. and then you want to dispose of the spoon. Throw that away. It pulls right off the lid. Throw that away and put the lid on tight. Put it back in the bag, and then put it in the refrigerator. Now you've got to wait 2 to 3 days later to do the next 2 samples, and you're going to do B and A the same time, the same day. So you can either collect it on Sunday or Monday, and then you can put it back in the box, put everything back in the box with the paperwork, make sure the paperwork's in there, and then you're going to take your label that comes with it, and you're going to place it just like that. So it seals the box at the same time. And then you also want to make sure they get your name and information filled out in case this gets lost in the mail. So I hope that helps and explains everything. There's actually 3 different sets of direction in the paperwork in the box. So just make sure you fill in over here on the stool side the first sample when you collected it, if it was what the date was, and then the next 2 you want to put the date there. Also, it has some things to stay away from. Cruciferous vegetables, rare meats, and your vitamins and minerals and things like that. Try and stay away from those for about 3 to 4 days before you do that Friday collection. Okay, so try and remember that and make sure everything is dotted, crossed, and signed and ready to go. So I hope this helps, and have a good evening.